Let's see who this is right here. The 866 area code?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Jared. How are you?
Hey, Nikki, how's it going?
Oh, it's going very, very well. And beautiful day, and it can't get much better than that.
Well, there you go. I wish I could say the weather was good where I am, but it's not. But everything else is good to go. So we can't complain because people always have it worse than us, right?
Hey, we tend to take not advantage, take for granted the things we have. We really, truly do have it better than a lot in the world. But, just food on a daily basis without having to worry where it's coming from is something that, in general, that comes from. But, yeah, very much so. If we have a roof over our heads and we have power and we have food and we have families, then I'm happy.
Well, absolutely, and God bless you for it. And, again, I want to sincerely thank you for having me on your show again. It's a kick-ass show, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be on the show speaking with you. And do your thing. You can let me know when I have a few minutes to do my political rant. And as I mentioned, I want to discuss today a specific topic about a situation going on in not only England but all of Britain. And, people listening may say, well, what the hell does England or Britain or Europe have to do with us? And the truth is, once they hear what I have to say, they're going to understand that what's happening in Europe, specifically in Britain, France, and places like that, is actually gradually happening and will get worse in the United States of America. So I would suggest to anyone listening to the show, they should listen good and close and pay attention because if they don't want a similar situation to transpire in North America, they better open their eyes and their ears and be prepared. So, I don't know if you have anything you want to shoot out to the people before I go on my rant, and if you do, it's your show. So
yeah, more than anything, just to tell everybody, hey, to hang out, listen. If anybody wants to call in and comments once you've done his rant, you're still up for talking to people as well, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. I can't stay for an hour, but definitely, I would be happy to take phone calls. And the truth is, the average person in North America really doesn't even understand or maybe isn't even aware of a specific situation going on in England.
Well,
and I'm going to touch on a few subjects.
With that, which I'll leave you to. But you want to explain to people, because more than anything, you study a lot with the Illuminati. You have actually a lot of ties over in this area, and personal ties as well, and this is like, that's the thing. This is a very human thing. This is very personal to everybody that exists on this globe, at least from my point of view. So I'm going to leave it to you, but if you want to give a quick introduction so people know, I guess, a little bit more of your background, and if they want to find you, I guess, your Facebook friends are almost full, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'll definitely be on the show again, and I'll give a very quick introduction why I'm speaking about this subject, and a little bit more about me. And to be honest, what I'm going to say is geared very much to the people right now in Britain, specifically England. And I want to take the time, and I want to say, first of all, props and respect to my brothers and my mates in the EDL, that's the English Defense League, to the NWI, Northwest Infidels, NEI, Northeast Infidels, and the Casuals. And just so everyone understands, I have a lot of connections to England. My father is from there. My grandfather and two of my great-uncles fought in World War II over there. Of course, being Jewish, it's especially something important, the fact that they were fighting the Nazis. And, I live in Canada now, but I've got the flag of England on my arm, tattoo. I've got a tattoo of the flag of Great Britain on my back. So what's going on in England is very important to me. I have a lot of friends over there from different backgrounds, different races, colors, and creeds, and whatnot. And there's a situation right now, just to give everyone a bit of a background, that's going on over there, where anyone who watches the news and sees what's going on, radical Islam and those who want to put Sharia law into effect all over the country have taken over huge parts of Britain, specifically in England. There are some areas in London, in North England, like Manchester or whatnot, that you can't go in there and find a shop that doesn't sell halal meat. You can't go in there as a woman unless you're covered from head to toe in a burqa, or they might stone you or rape you or attack you. There are certain areas over there where the cops will not go into. And I mean, you could go all over YouTube and you can, basically Google it and find anything you want, videos, clips on the radio, articles. I mean, they stand in the middle of the street, death to the infidel, death to the Christian, death to the Jew, death to the Queen, death to the Pope, bring down England, Sharia law, kill and behead anyone who insults Islam. I mean, the type of people that support Al-Qaeda, Hamas, the Taliban, the wonderful people that stone women to death, that hang gay people, that beat their wives, that marry children, that rape children. These are the type of people that want to take over England. And right now, there is a huge movement of people, of groups, regular people such as you and I, who want to take the country back. And the liberal media will try to have you believe they're all racists, they're hooligans, they're thugs. And you know what? I know a lot of them, and I can assure you that they are regular people who are fed up with the bullshit, and they're fed up with the fact that their country no longer belongs to them. Some areas, you wave the British flag, and you could get arrested because you offended someone's sensibility. So I want to discuss this, and why is it relevant to your listeners in the U.S. or where I am in Canada or anywhere else in the world that you may have listeners, is there are similar things going on in all countries, including in the U.S. and Canada. It's called creeping Sharia. And if people don't wake up, there's going to be a similar situation in the United States of America. And I just want to take 2 minutes to go on my little rant over here, and I'll be absolutely honored and glad to take any questions, comments, or whatnot. And there's a situation right now that I have to bring up, and it's worrying for me because there are several different groups, as I mentioned, EDL, NWI, NEI, the casuals. They're all different resistance groups that should be working together right now to fight Sharia and radical Islam and to take back their country. And unfortunately, the groups are infighting amongst themselves. And even within the groups themselves, different leaders and members are infighting amongst themselves. And I'm doing this show, I'm doing this interview to help. I want to see the groups working together. I remember how Britain used to be great. I mean, listen, let's face it, the United States, yes, they fought England and they became a country, and, God bless them for that, and thank God. But the fact remains that Britain was once a major superpower. It is a proud, proud nation. England is a proud people. During World War II, while the Nazis were bombing the hell out of London, man, woman, and child rolled up their sleeves and said, hell no, we're going to fight to the death. And you know what? They got to do the same thing right now, because the Battle of Britain that they won in World War II, right now, this Battle of Britain, there's no tomorrow. There's no turning back. If they lose this Battle of Britain, it's over. So I want them to put aside race. I want them to put aside hatred, differences, politics, work together, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And yes, each group has members that have their own goals, their own desires or whatnot, but at the end of the day, take away jealousy, take away the bullshit. Going into this for your country, it's not a game, it's not about partying, it's not about sex, it's not about drinking, it's not about football or what you would call in North America soccer. Okay, it's not about anything but saving England, but saving Great Britain. Okay, the groups need to put this bullshit aside, and they need to work together. And I just want to mention, by the way, to some of you over there in England that do favor doing the occasional Nazi salute to the Muslims, I just want to mention that you haven't done your homework, because obviously you don't realize that the Nazis and the Muslims during World War II were friends, and they worked together. Hitler was real good buddies with them. Okay, so when you call a Muslim in Britain a Nazi, you're actually complimenting them. So you guys got to do your research and your homework, okay? and whether you need to make one group, I hate to compare it to the Mafia and a Cosa Nostra, but they have like a commission where the leaders of each family sit down and the, the second leaders, like the right-hand man and whatnot, they all kind of sit down together. If you guys in England need to do the same thing, do it. Get a couple of leaders from each group, sit down, make a commission, work together, do whatever the hell you have to do, because I have news for you to all my friends. And like I said, respect to each and every one of you in England. Okay, right now, the Muslims are laughing at you, and they're winning, because while you guys are busy infighting and fighting amongst yourselves, even within your own groups, they're winning and they're taking over. So unless you want your mother, your aunt, your sister, your daughter, your cousin, your wife, your girlfriend to be in a burqa and eating halal meat the rest of their lives, you better wake up. And I'm telling you, to all my friends, my brothers and my mates in England, North America and the rest of the world is watching. They are counting on you. They want to see how you take back your country, to give them the guts and the courage to take back them. And I want to say something to those of you who feel that all immigrants are bad, that different races, colors, or religions are bad. That's bullshit. Okay, the bottom line is, anyone who does not support Britain, get the hell out. I don't care what their color is. I don't care their race. I don't care their religion. And the same goes for Canada or the United States of America. Either you support the country that you live in, or you're a traitor, get the hell out. So for some of you who want to blame everything on the immigrants, all immigrants are bad, I'm sorry, that's not the case. Okay, we're all human beings, and anyone who loves their country, wants to defend their country, as far as I'm concerned, we're all the same, and they're good to go. And there are plenty of...
Like the powers that be, whatever we call the Illuminati, the international bankers, those that control most areas of the world, they love this division that's being created. And this was exactly what was instituted and brought about, and we don't seem to realize it.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And, just to go one minute away from what I'm talking about here, as we discussed the last time, we saw that in the Middle East right now with all the radicals that are uprising in all the countries in Egypt and Yemen and Syria and the rest of those countries, Morocco and Algeria, and they're bombing the hell out of Gaddafi in Libya. It's the same people, the Illuminati, the New World Order, the European masters that are doing this and that are causing that uprising. So I agree with you 100%. And unfortunately, that same mentality has hit, not just Britain, but Canada and U.S., where you're either on one side or the other. And my point is that, Britain was once great. Okay, Britain was built on the backs of her inhabitants, whether they be third, fourth, fifth, or 10th generation English or British, or whether they be immigrants who came over to make an honest living, who wanted to integrate, live by the rules and the laws of the country they were going to. And I believe that immigration is important. However, it needs to be monitored immigration. You can't open your doors to everybody from just any country. There has to be screening to prevent disease, to prevent terrorism, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is I want people to know in England that you have all kinds of people, regardless of race, color, or religion, who want to stand together and take their country back. They want to be able to wave the flag. They want to be able to walk in any area they want. And they don't want to be yelled at or told either convert to Islam or we're going to cut off your head. And I'm doing this interview because you people in England need to understand, please work together, settle your differences, or it's over, you've lost, okay? Put aside all the bullshit, put aside the racism, put aside everything, work together, guys. It's the only way. So you're taking it from a guy with British blood. I've got the tattoos on my body. I'm a Jew, and I would fight gladly beside you were I in England the same way I do so in Canada. So it's not a matter of religion, race, or color. You guys got to work together, put aside your differences. And one thing, I'm going to be careful what I say here. I'm not advocating violence in any way, shape, or form. But boys, my mates, my brothers over there, defend yourselves. Okay, I keep seeing on the news women, children, 2-3 guys getting attacked by 50 by the Muslims. You guys got to learn. You guys got to be ready to defend yourselves. Okay, you can't allow your women and children and the men to be beaten and cornered or whatnot. So stick together. You guys are powerful. Okay, you guys are many, and you're not afraid, and you love your country. Stick together. Protect yourselves. Protect the women. Protect the children. And one final thing, Nikki, one final comment, and then I'll take any comments you have or any questions or comments from any of the listeners. There's a few people, and this is geared towards a few people. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism is rampant everywhere, including in England, and there are some people that are trying to focus some of their anger, on Israel or on the Jews. And I just want to mention one thing. There was a rumor going around, to you boys in England about Israel once, selling some weapons to Argentina during the war, the Falklands War in the 80s between England and Argentina. Just so you guys know your facts are straight, Israel did sell planes to Argentina, but the planes were only delivered purposely after England had already won the war. And at the same time, Vatican was doing all kinds of business with Argentina. And for those who know their history, since the beginning of time, when England was a nation, they've always been supporting the Arabs and the Muslims and giving them weapons and not Israel. So you guys, stop focusing your anger in the wrong direction. Get together, stand united, and focus it on the common enemy, and that's Sharia and radical Islam. And I'm done my rant, guys. I hope in England, again, respect to all of you. God bless all of you. Props. Keep up the fight. You can do it, but you got to do it together. And Nikki, there you have it. It's from the heart. It's from my soul. And I pray that they do it because, you know what? I see it happening in Canada. I see it happening in the U.S. And the eyes right now are on Britain because they've got a huge movement, different groups, but they got to do it together. And the liberal establishment is purposely creating friction between them to keep them divided. And, I said I had to do this interview. And, hopefully someone over there is listening. I'm going to be posting this shit all over Facebook. I'm going to be posting it in all the British groups, on all my friends' profiles. And I pray to God the guys in the leadership of all the groups wake up and say, you know what, he's right. We got to put aside this bullshit, and we got to work together to defeat the common enemy. And now I'll take any calls, whether they be calls of support or hate calls. I'm used to both.
Well, for those listening and for anybody in the chat room, I just put the phone number in there. The phone number is 347-324-3704. And just real quick, we're actually going to have to take a quick break. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and take our break, pay the sponsors, and then I have some general questions just for me. Well, general conversation topics for you and I. But
anything you want, I'll be here waiting for you to come back from break.
Awesome. So, hey, everybody listening, you can always check out all the other hosts at Freedomizer at www.freedomizerradio.com. And yes, that is 2 R's in the middle, one for the end of Freedomizer and one for the beginning of radio. And, of course, you're with NickieNix as we rise above dehumanization. We have Tuvia here with us, and we'll be right back, so hang in there.
Hi, folks. CT here. I want to talk to you about a great preparedness resource, tomorrowsharvest.com. Whether it's an economic collapse or nature's fury, there's no feeling more secure than knowing that your loved ones will be well fed. If it's time to bug out or just camping with the family, Tomorrow's Harvest offers high-quality, cost-effective, and long-term smart food storage. Get your free sample. The choices are great. From blueberry pancakes to cowboy chili, no one else has the meal variety of Tomorrow's Harvest. They also provide other survival necessities. Check out the various packages and customize your meal supply. Remember, there's no reason for fear today when you're prepared with Tomorrow's Harvest. Go to www.tomorrowsharvest.com and tell them you're Freedom.
I am an autonomous government agent here to steal your livelihood. Not so fast. I'm Sovereign Filing Solutions.
And I'm the Sovereign. We're teamed up
to bring you
the truth without censorship.
Are you tired of being fed multi-million-dollar media lies?
Are you ready for the real story?
Sovereign Filing Solutions has teamed up with the Sovereign newspaper to make sure you get it.
And not the BS this guy behind me wants to feed you.
Take the step, help make the change. Oh, come on. That's not even fair. How are we supposed to rule indiscriminately if you know what's going on?
Howdy, folks. Buford T. Slaughter here. As part of my continuing rehabilitation, and in conjunction with my anger management coach and my parole officer, I am required to do community service in the form of public service announcements. The TSA needs you. If you're the kind of guy that doesn't mind looking at naked boys and girls as they walk through the naked body scanners, or if you don't mind pulling an 82-year-old grandma out of a wheelchair, beating the heck out of her, make sure she's not carrying any bomb-making equipment, and if you don't mind taking people that object to this kind of treatment, slapping the heck out of them, pulling them in the back room, and strip searching them, then the TSA is for you. The TSA is hiring men and women to work at numerous locations around the United States, and the only qualifications are you must have longer than average index fingers, be able to sit and stare at a screen while naked people walk in front of you, and be able to take orders without any questions whatsoever. So, if you're interested in the TSA, please call 1-800-BROWN-SHIRT. 1-800-BROWN-SHIRT. And on a personal note, when the TSA does frisk you as you're going through the airport security, it is an act of love for the U.S. government. It is not an act of rape. So please do not beat them up. Thank you for your time.
Federal Reserve, you've been living hell to me. You've been robbing me since 1913. You'll run the presses till the ink is dry. Long ago, I stopped asking why. Federal Reserve, I hate every inch of you. You robbed me and you cheated me through and through. Now I'm a poorer and more destitute man. Mr. Congressman, why can't you understand? Federal Reserve, what good do you think you do? Do you think we'll all be richer when you're through? Your dollars are no longer backed by gold, and your stone walls turn my blood a little cold. Federal Reserve, may you rot and burn in hell. May you all fall and may I live to tell. May all the world reject your fake cash. You stole our wealth, but we can take it back. You stole our wealth, but we can take it back. You stole our wealth, but we can take it back.
All right, Streetwise, this is NickieNix back here with you. Let me bring in Jared. Hi, Jared.
Hey, I gotta say, I love those ads. Like during the break, the stuff that you play. I mean, that's fantastic. Some of that shit is awesome.
Yeah, that TSA thing.
Yeah, and the brown shirts and there's some good stuff there.
Yeah, very, very much so. We actually have a call real quick, so I'm going to bring in Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl.
Hi, Nikki.
How are you?
Excellent today.
Very, very
Hi,
good.
Cheryl.
Hi, Jared. I had a question for you. I have more than a couple. I have a few Muslim friends on Facebook. I tend not to discriminate when people ask to be my friends until they prove to be jerks.
Fair enough, sure.
I think it, and also too, I think it was out of pure curiosity. And one of the conversations that I was privileged to peek in on was a conversation between a bunch of women with a few interjections from men. And the conversation started out like this. If a sister came to you and said that she was interested in marrying your husband, how would you feel about that? Would you turn her away immediately, or would you sit down and discuss it with her? And there was a very, very long thread of conversations that went back and forth between people who were absolutely opposed to anything other than monogamy, all the way to the other side where, you know, it's good for the community.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
well,
one of my very first introduction into the Islam and the Muslim religion was a video, and I posted the link in the chat room. And it's a gentleman who is an insider. He's a Muslim, and he's afraid of how the Muslim community is taking over in Europe. And he kind of went through and he did some interviews with some people, and his take on it is that they're going to do this, and they're going to do it. They're going to do it peacefully. They're not going to do it by force. They're going to do it purely by numbers.
It's done this whole time. That's just it. It's been about the numbers. It's been about the big families. It's been about... Go ahead. Sorry, Jared.
No, don't, listen, you're the star of the show. I'm just the outsider. I'm the guest. Don't ever be sorry to me. I just wanted to comment, and I want to clarify something, and I know you weren't suggesting it. For any listeners who may have not understood, I actually have several Muslim friends, some of them who I am actually pretty close with. And there are many good Muslims, just as there are many bad, and just as there are many bad people from every race, color, or religion. So it's not because someone is a Muslim that they are bad, and many Muslims want to be left alone in peace. And very often, if you look what's going on in Afghanistan and Iraq and places such as that, it's not, yes, there are American and British and Canadian soldiers that are getting killed, but the majority of the people that are getting killed are Muslims. They're killing their own people, and unfortunately, there's a huge brainwashing that's going on in the Muslim world, and unfortunately, what's happening is that the radicals have completely taken over, and those that are not radical or who don't want Sharia law because they understand the barbaric nature of it, listen, it comes from, the 8th century, so, let's call a spade a spade. Back then it might have been okay to stone a woman to death, marry a 9-year-old girl and have intercourse with her, sit in a cave with your sheep and drink tea all day while you plot your next terror attack, but in today's world it's not cool. And the fact is that there are many good Muslims. Unfortunately, the fact also remains that you do have to be careful, and you do have to be vigilant, because everywhere you look in the world, it's not a rabbi, it's not a priest, it's not someone wearing a cross, it's not a Sikh, it's not a Buddhist or a Hindu or an atheist, occasionally an atheist, but most of the time, more often than not, when there's a terror attack, it's done by someone yelling Allahu Akbar, and everyone knows that's Islam. And,
Well, that's why more than anything, you make the point radical Islam.
Yes,
and
but
you
again,
don't say Muslim, again, it's radical Islam. You don't say, oh, no.
No, I don't say all Muslim, of course not, but let's keep in mind, Nikki, what is the difference between radical Islam and just a regular Muslim? Most regular Muslims that I know, or who would consider themselves against radicalism, don't really follow the Quran. And the average person hasn't really read it. And the radicals want you to believe very often it's not really, it doesn't say this and this in the Quran. But more and more, you could even go on YouTube and Google and see all kinds of videos where you have imams, which for those who don't know would be the equivalent of a rabbi or a priest or a minister for Islam, that are actually preaching and quoting the Quran, where it tells you convert or kill the infidel, where it tells you it's okay to marry a child, but you could only have intercourse with her when she's such and such age, which many interpret to be 9 years old. They quote from the Quran where it tells you could stone a woman to death if she's cheated on you, or if you suspect her of doing so. So the fact is that the Quran itself, and I once posted a clip where Mein Kampf that Hitler wrote and the Quran were very similar, and in fact, Hitler got a lot of his ideas and writings from the Quran, and there are so many passages that are identical that it would shock the average person were they to do research. So the difference between someone who's radical and someone who's not usually just means someone who's taking the Quran and reading it literally, and when it was written, in 700 and whatnot in the 8th century by Muhammad, and they're taking it to a literal point and they're acting out on it, right? I mean, most Christians or Jews, you take the Old Testament for the Jews, the New Testament for Catholics. Many Christians go by both the Old and the New Testament. And there are things in there that happen, but you just can't do it in today's day and age. That was a different time, a different place, and a different situation. And the things that went on back then can't go on now, whereas those that want to bring Sharia law, which Sharia simply means following the Quran and making the law of the land that you are in according to the Quran, they want to take what was going on 1,300 years ago and have it today, which is why you go on YouTube and Google and see videos of women being stoned to death while they're buried in the sand, and people being shot and beaten and raped and molested, et cetera, et cetera. So, there is definitely a distinction, and I also did want to clarify, of course, that no, not all Muslims are the same, and I know many Muslims who are very, very good people that I trust. But again, they don't walk around holding the Quran. It's a completely different story, and that's the difference between a radical and one who's not radical. I don't know if that helps at all.
That's kind of an interesting point. But if they're not following the Quran, then are they really a Muslim?
Well, I mean, absolutely, because according to the book, according to Islam, you're a Muslim if your father is a Muslim, and for Judaism, you are a Jew if your mother is a Jew. For Christians, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how it works. There's so many different sects of Christianity that I'm not really 100% sure how that works. But I mean, listen, I know, God knows how many Jews who don't do the Sabbath, they don't eat kosher, they don't really follow anything, but they're still Jews. So of course they're still Muslims, and and of course the radicals will say, well, if you don't follow the Quran completely, you're not a good Muslim. And listen, that's a crock of shit. That's like saying, well, if someone doesn't walk around with a cross and doesn't spend 10 hours in church on Easter or Sunday, they're not a Christian. And we know that that's just not true. God created all people, and you're either a good person or you're not a good person. And, because you walk around with a book, and we all know people who like to walk around with the book and claim to be so holy, and some of them are the biggest scumbags on the face of the earth, right? And we all know some people who are completely not religious, who are some of the nicest people you will ever meet. So, that whole idea of, if either you follow it or you're not, and if you don't, you're not part of the crew, that's just, propaganda by the radicals.
It's true of just about any sect of life, again. Who had said it? It was Angel in the chat room mentioned, like, Quakers or major other religious sects. I mean, we had this, especially here in Texas, we've had a lot of religious fanatics that have acted out. Look what happened in Waco. You have extremists. It doesn't have to be. The thing is when it starts to take over, something has to be done. I mean, just saying, extremism in any direction is never a good thing, ever.
No, I agree with you 100%, but just to touch very quick, and I actually have to go in about 5 minutes, but just to touch on the Waco thing, I don't say that I agree with everything that was going on in the compound, but at the same time, Clinton acted in a very Hitler-style fashion where, you know, he went in there, and I mean, they burned women and children alive in there. And the truth is we saw what they did to the Mormon compound, when was it, a couple years ago, and everywhere on the news, the Mormons and rape, and they're molesting the kids and this and that, and it turned out that all the allegations were false. So, you know, let's keep in mind that the government that is currently in power in the U.S., and it was the same under Bush. He was no real conservative, okay? The government over the last several years have been anti-religion, and they try to smear any religious group. So Waco, you know, I don't know everything that was going on, but a lot of it was propaganda and made up. And they basically gave themselves an excuse to go in there and exterminate a whole bunch of people and try to smear an entire sect the same way they tried to do with the Mormons. And I know many Mormons, and let me tell you something, most Mormons I know are absolutely wonderful people. They love their country. They love their flag and Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They love Israel. They love the Jews. They love anyone who's a good person. So, you know, it's very easy for the government to try to smear any group with the type of propaganda and give themselves an excuse to go in there and do what they did at Waco. And, you know, a lot of innocent people were killed.
Yes, yes. And, hey, I wanted to touch on before you have to go anyways, because you were talking about immigration, and then it has to be done the right way, and that's where a lot of this issue has come from, because a lot of the fighting and fake wars that have been done have forced a lot of people out of their homes, and so immigration is starting to become a big issue for a lot of people in this area. But the thing with the immigration, like you said, it needs to be done properly. We need guidelines, and there has to be screening, and that's exactly what's been happening here in the U.S. You look what happened with with Arizona, right? They actually wanted stricter immigration laws, and they tried their best to actually do it according to the law and according to what was done, and they get nothing but criticism in the government saying they can't, you know, that, hey, it's the government's duty to protect the borders, but, okay, when that fails, who's supposed to step up, you know? But that's, the whole thing is that I love the fact when you went back to the immigration issue, because I think they're dealing with it more in Europe than we are here. Here it's mainly, you know, I mean, come on, how many Canadians want to skip over to the U.S.?
You know, but you have a bigger issue with up to 30 million illegal, mainly Mexicans, right? And that's the big issue that you have, is that you have many Mexicans who came over legally, worked their ass off to make a better living for themselves and their family, and there you have a whole bunch of other ones that are hopping to Rio Grande, and the truth is the government is giving them more rights than they're giving you as a U.S. citizen who pays their taxes, right? And keep in mind that this is all part of the plan. You know, since Reagan, and I love Reagan, he was, you know, potentially the greatest president in a long time, but even he did absolutely nothing to close the border, and it's all been part of the plan to make that, you know, one North American country with Mexico, Canada, and U.S., and get all kinds of voters to the Liberal Party and the Democrat Party, and they've done absolutely nothing intentionally to close the border. But if you go back 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 100 years, when all the people came over from Europe and anywhere else in the country, they went to Ellis Island in New York. They were screened for diseases. They were screened to make sure that they weren't criminals and they weren't terrorists, and they were let into the country. Nowadays, you get off a boat, you hop out of a trunk of a car that just illegally crossed the border, you put your hands in the air, and hey, welcome in. You got liberal freaks in the desert giving you water and condoms and papers on how to get away with whatever you want to do in the United States. So times have changed. You need immigration, but you know what? You can't let in everybody from just any country, because you're committing suicide. And the truth is every country must have their own identity. And like Michael Savage says all the time, borders, language, and culture. As soon as a country does not have borders, they cease to exist as a country. And that's what the NWO, the Illuminati, the powers that be, they want. They want to see the United States, which is right now the greatest and last real bastion of freedom and constitutionalism. They want to see the U.S. have its borders erased, because once that happens, the U.S. as a country as a nation and as an identity ceases to exist. And once it ceases to exist, it's all over. And that's the main issue with the borders and the immigration.
Thank you, Jared.
No, thank you. I wish I had more time, and believe me, one of these days I'm going to find a way to come on for like 2 hours or something. And you got great listeners and awesome callers, like the young lady who just called, and Cheryl, exactly. And it's a pleasure to be on the show, and hopefully what I spoke about will help people, especially in England, because you know what? Instead of fighting amongst themselves, they got to save their country. And like I said, it's important to you and every other American and every other Canadian where I am to look at that situation and say, hey, if we don't wake up, it's going to get to the point where some areas in the U.S., we can't walk down the street because they'll stone you to death and try to cut off your head. And it's almost going on in Michigan, right? Some areas in Michigan over there, it's the same thing. So it's happening, and people better wake up, and they better do something about it. And fighting amongst each other, this race, this color, this religion, it's all bullshit. We're all human, and the bottom line is either you live within the laws of the country you're in and follow the Constitution and support the country you're in and protect the country you're in, or you don't. Either you're for or you're against. And if you're against, you're a traitor. It's as simple as that. So all colors, races, religions, creeds need to unite and do something about those who want to destroy their way of life. And it's as simple as that.
Well stated.
Well, I've been practicing.
Yeah, right? Yeah, okay. We've been at this a while before. I mean, we all have our own fight. We all come from our own place. We all have our different perspectives on where things go. But the thing is that, like what Jared's saying, we need to come together. We truly do. And this is a way to do it. There's always ways. So I appreciate your
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you're awesome, Nikki, once again. Awesome show. And, it was an honor and a privilege once again to be invited. And, anytime I'm always eager to come on the show. And, I appreciate what you do. You're a good person and, a good American and just a good human being. And, if the world had more people like you and, wanting to speak their mind and do good by other people, the world would be a much better place. And I will leave you like that. And I want to thank Cheryl for taking the time to listen and call. It's certainly appreciated. And, I wish you both all the best. God bless. And Nikki, will be in touch soon.
Always. Thanks, Jared.
Awesome. Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, everybody, that was Jared Tuvia. So he's